one time, and some guys came and they said, Hovend, we know you teach the earth is only 6,000 years old. We'd like to prove to you you're wrong. Would you come with us, please? I said, sure. They took me to this big freezer in Denver, outside of Denver in Lakewood. It's the National Ice Core Laboratory. 36 below zero in there. They put this big suit on me, big hat, big gloves, big boots. I was freezing in 5 seconds when I walked in there. I got Florida blood, you know, it's real thin. They said, Hovend, we go to Greenland and we drill holes through the ice. You know, government job. And we take this big pipe, we drill it down in, and we bring this ice core out of the middle of the pipe, and we save it in this big freezer here in Lakewood, Colorado. We have 10 ice cores stored in this freezer. They said, they took me over and showed me one of the ice cores. They said, you see these rings on here? It looks like tree rings, dark, light, dark, light. I said, oh yeah, it's real clear. They said, well, what happens in the summer, the snow melts a little bit, and then it refreezes and makes clear ice. Shows up dark on the picture. In the winter, the snow just packs. It doesn't get a chance to melt. And so it shows up as a white layer. So these layers represent summer, winter, summer, winter, summer, winter, summer, winter. They said, now the deepest hole we've ever drilled is 10,000 feet deep. And we counted these ice rings, and there were 135,000 of them. And now you're going around telling everybody the earth is 6,000 years old. We can prove it's at least 135,000. I said, fellas, aren't you assuming those are annual rings? See, they didn't know about the lost squadron, apparently. But in World War II, some airplanes ran out of gas and landed in Greenland. Has anybody ever heard of the lost squadron? Okay, it's been on TV a bunch of times. Well, the airplanes got left there in 1942. They went on and fought the war. Everybody forgot about them. Until a rich millionaire from Kentucky got a brilliant idea. Go find those airplanes and bring them home. He went there looking for the airplanes. They had to use ground-penetrating radar to penetrate the ice, and they located the planes. They melted a hole to get down to a P-38. It was 263 feet below the surface. They melted this hole down to get to the plane, took the plane apart, and brought the pieces back up through the hole and put it back together in Middleborough, Kentucky. Not too far from here. How far is Middleborough from Knoxville? 2 hours, maybe? Okay. The planes, that's where its home base is, Middleborough. Well, the planes were in the ice for 48 years. They were 263 feet down. That's 5.5 feet a year. Now, the deepest hole they've ever drilled is 10,000 feet. You divide that by 5.5, you get 1,800 years. I know deeper layers get squished, called glacial firn, so really 4,000 years is plenty of time to put all the ice at the North and South Pole. So why isn't there more ice at the North and South Pole? I visited the museum and saw the guy who dug out the airplane. His name is Bob Carden. I said, Bob, when you went down to get to that airplane, did you go through ice rings? He said, oh yeah, many hundreds of them. I said, now wait a minute. How can there be hundreds of ice rings in 48 years? Shouldn't there be somewhere around 48? He said, who told you those are annual layers? He said, that doesn't represent summer, winter, summer, winter. It represents warm, cold, warm, cold, warm, cold. You can get 5 of those in 1 week in Knoxville, can't you? Yeah. But here's a guy still calling them annual layers. Either he's ignorant or he's lying. I hope he's just ignorant, because ignorance can be fixed. You see, stupid is forever, but ignorance can be fixed. That's the difference, by the way.
Okay, so that was a really cool proof that these ice core methods are false, and you can easily prove that by, thankfully, miraculously, digging up old artifacts that we have dated to modern times. And so that was Kent Hovend breaking that down and showing us that that narrative of hundreds of thousands of years just falls apart. And before, when I was looking at things like that, the proofs of the ice rings and the ice cores, I'd say, well, you know, in Genesis, it just says the world was without form. It was void. And so it was already here. It was just void of life. And so it was just ancient. And this stuff has been here forever. And so you start making excuses for the creation truth because you see a lot of this evidence and you're overwhelmed with it. It seems like there's just so much evidence for the old ancient earth, hundreds of thousands of years. at least, even if it's not millions, hundreds of thousands because of the ice cores. But as you can see with Kent Hovend's example, the ice cores prove that they haven't been there that long. You know, it's the hot cold changes and not yearly like a tree ring. They try to use that tree ring analogy where it's every year, but not the case. Okay, now we're going to start talking about the the dinosaur issue, and I'm going to show you some stuff that is really cool and that changes again the timeline of these dinosaurs. But when I was looking up and trying to find complete skeletons of these dinosaurs, what I was finding and what was blowing my mind is that we never have a complete skeleton when you go out there and go to those exhibits. I remember being a kid and going to those science museums and seeing these dinosaurs and just being in just all of these creatures and thinking about how many millions of years ago they roamed the earth. And of course, you know, I watched Jurassic Park, you know, 1, 2, and 3. And Jurassic Park was one of my favorite movies because they would show that stuff to us in school. It was the one time where they're like, guys, this is awesome. We're going to show this movie. And I remember just being so happy they wheel in that little TV, not like they have the projectors of today. We had those little glass front TVs, the little small TVs on the carts. And we were just captivated by this stuff. But they don't have a complete set. People claim they do. And I've tried finding pictures of them. I can't find a full photo or a photo of a full dinosaur skeleton anywhere. And so you guys can help me out. If you find one, send it to me. I'd like to investigate it. But this brings me to the work of a guy that I found back when I was doing my evolution investigation years ago named Mark Armitage. And he is an awesome man who was working at the University of California. I'm going to read the article because this guy got fired for his discovery. Why did he get fired for his discovery? Because it destroys their narrative. This is him right here. His YouTube channel is Mark H. Armitage. Check out his work. Share this stuff. You know, I try to share this stuff with coworkers. They don't usually look at it. I had one look at it the other day and was going, how is this possible? And I'm over there like going, yes, I hope they keep digging because they're obsessed with dinosaur fossils. If they can get obsessed with it and look at this work, they could actually join this guy. He lets people explore and use these bone specimens that he finds instead of locking them up like the other people do. He lets people look at them. He lets people break them down. And what he does at his institute is he dissolves the bone specimens that he finds, these alleged ancient dinosaur bones. He dissolves them and he finds soft tissue all the time. On every continent, he's been able to do this. And so I'm going to read this article for those of you who probably can't see it on your phones. It says, attorneys for a California State University Northridge scientist who was terminated from his job after discovering soft tissue on a Triceratops fossil has filed a lawsuit against the university. I don't think it tells you in this article because this is an older article from back in 2014. He won the lawsuit. They fired him, and they shouldn't have done so because he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was just sharing his work. But it goes on to say, while at Hell Creek Formation excavation site in Montana, researcher Mark Armitage discovered what he believed to be the largest Triceratops horn ever unearthed at the site, according to attorney Brad Dacus of Pacific Justice Institute. Upon examination of the horn under a high-powered microscope back at CSUN, Dacus says Armitage was fascinated to find soft tissue on the sample, a discovery that Dacus said stunned members of the school's biology department and even some students because it indicates that the dinosaurs roamed the earth only thousands of years in the past rather than going extinct 60 million years ago. And since some creationists like Armitage believe that the Triceratops bones are only 4,000 years old at most, Armitage's work vindicated his view that these dinosaurs roamed the planet relatively recently. According to the complaint filed July 22nd in Los Angeles Superior Court, the lawsuit against the CSUN Board of Trustees cites discrimination for perceived religious views. Armitage's findings were eventually published in July 2013 in a peer-reviewed scientific journal. Imagine that. And according to court documents, shortly after the original soft tissue discovery, a CSUN official told Armitage, "We are not going to tolerate your religion. Never mind their religion. We're not going to tolerate your religion in this department." And so they are being discriminate towards him based on his religion or what he can actually prove. And so they're calling that a religion. He can't help but he found what he knew would be there or believed would be there or what should be there. But it says Armitage, a published scientist of over 30 years, was subsequently let go after CSUN abruptly claimed his appointment at the university of 38 months had been temporary and claimed a lack of funding for his position, according to attorneys. So, of course, that's what they're going to say. Yeah, we just couldn't fund him anymore. Now that he's discovering things, had this been the Piltdown Man hoax that he had made, he would have gotten hired, or promoted. And so they are saying that it's because of funding, guys. Nothing shady here. Okay. But it says terminating an employee because of their religious views is completely inappropriate and illegal, Dacus said in a statement. But doing so in an attempt to silence scientific speech at a public university is even more alarming. This should be a wake-up call and a warning to the entire world of academia. And he seems so humble and laid back. When you watch him share his work and his findings, he puts out little videos. He's not going, and being just prideful, like, look at us, look at you dumb evolutionists that believe in this. He's very humble. He doesn't want it to become a debate. He wants the evidence to speak for himself. I've tried to have him come on to promote his work, but he doesn't want promotion. He just wants people to get hands-on, experiment with it. He goes and brings these specimens to schools and lets them experiment with it as well. And so I'm going to show you the video of him going through and talking about this stuff. And there's a lot more videos. I don't want to show everything he does, just a little snippet of one of his. Let me see if I can find it. Rapid fossilization. There it is. Soft tissue. This is Mark Armitage. This is the guy I'm telling you about doing exactly what I was telling you. Let's see. Pull this up.
It's Mark. I'm with the Dinosaur Soft Tissue Research Institute. We're a group of volunteer scientists who are studying dinosaur bones. And we're looking for soft tissue. For example, this Triceratops frill, which comes off the back of the head of the Triceratops, full of cells, full of veins, full of blood vessels, full of soft tissue. And so that's one of the three things I want you to know about dinosaur bones. We can dissolve these bones just like they're a regular bone from any animal that's dissolved in the regular laboratory today. In fact, hospitals do this kind of work routinely on human bone specimens that are collected by the doctors. And so we can dissolve these bones. These have not turned into rock. These are still bone. That's number one. Number two, the fact that they're full of soft tissues means that they can't be old. We're told these are 68 million years old and older. And how can that be if they're full of soft tissue? And we know the soft tissue doesn't last for a long time. And so these things cannot be as old as we're being told because they are full of soft tissues. Another thing that's very important to understand about these bones is that they're being found all over the world. Every single continent so far has yielded soft bone that can be dissolved with soft tissue in it from dinosaurs. So those are some very important facts that you need to realize. But here's the shocking thing. We've thin sectioned these bones. Here's an example of a vertebra from a Triceratops that we thin sectioned and put on a slide. And we examined this under a very specialized microscope. And you know what we found? These are full of blood clots. All the bones, we found dinosaur bones now from 6 or 7 different individuals. Every single one of them has blood clots in it. Here is one of those thin sections of Triceratops bone under the microscope. You can see the 2 white arrows pointing to very thick blood clots that are in the blood canals of the bone. The entire bone is filled up with these blood clots in the canals. Now if we look at it under UV, it looks completely different. The UV light is so bright and strong that it makes the metal inside of the blood clot glow. So what you're seeing is the glowing of the iron from inside the blood clot, proving that these are indeed blood clots in these bones. Why is that important? What does it mean? Well, when a vertebrate organism dies in water as a result of drowning, their blood clots inside their bones. It also clots in the rest of their body, but the rest of their body rots away, right? But the bones remain, and so we found clots inside of every one of these bones. What does that mean? All the dinosaurs drowned. All the dinosaurs around the whole earth drowned because they all have clots in them. So this is significant. This means that they can't be millions of years old. And it also talks about a judgment. It reminds us of the flood of Noah's day. If these bones are full of blood clots, and all the dinosaurs have them, then all the dinosaurs died by asphyxiation in a flood. That means this world was judged, and there's going to be another judgment.
All right. So that was just a quick view of some of the things that he's found. The soft tissue, again, there's videos of him manipulating this stuff under microscopes in the lab. And so he shares that. You can look at it. He's got tons of videos about it and hardly any views or subscribers. I've shared his work many times on different platforms, and it's just like he's very shadow banned and definitely doesn't want money. I've tried to find out if he needs funding and if we can support this guy. And he's always like, no, don't do it. Everything we do is for free. And we do take donations, but he never gave me a way or a link. I'd like to give one and share if he'd give me one. I'll see if I can find one on his website. But again, I'm not saying that dinosaurs looked exactly like the pictures and images we see. They don't have a full skeleton of them. A lot of this stuff is animations. These things were pre-flood Nephilim or creatures. You know, you find a giant femur, they can just tell you it was a long-necked dinosaur. They don't have to say that was a Nephilim bone, a giant, roaming the earth. And the reason they are scattered everywhere and not intact is because of some clash of the Titans. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to say it was an asteroid. But this guy has proof that it was not an asteroid. It wasn't the sun being darkened by some massive cloud all around the entire ball. It was due to drowning. And so forensic evidence supports that it was a drowning that took place, as well as the fact that these things are young. And so extremely hidden. And this has been out, this information has been out, I think, for over a decade. Let's see. Yeah, like a decade now, because we're now this is back in 2013. And so it's 2023 now. So really cool work from this guy. You do not see this in textbooks. We still use the whole millions and billions of years. And the dinosaurs, when they look at the timeline, were always millions of years ago. So we have to share this stuff. Share this with teachers. Share it with educators. If you're an educator, share this with your students. Tell them this is new information. This is stuff that's only 10 years old. The textbooks haven't caught up to this stuff yet. And they're probably not going to catch up to it because we are still using things from over 100 years ago that were proven fraudulent.